someone had said this on Blue Sky. This is a really big decision. People are,
Oh, yeah.
I know we're like, make a decision already, but this is the next at least 12 years of his life that he's making a decision about. And I know the contract will probably have opt-outs at some point, but this is a big chunk of his life. It's a big chunk of money that he's going to get. And he needs to really like look through everything.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gonsulius. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, greetings.
Greetings. It's well, while we record this, it's a lovely Tuesday night in December, but while you're watching this, it's a Wednesday, and it's going to be What If Wednesday, but we'll get into that in a second. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified when our videos go live. On today's show, Aroldis Chapman signs with the Red Sox. That's interesting. We'll discuss that. What If Wednesday, we're going to discuss Sonny Gray and his tenure with the Yankees, and what if it turned out differently. But first, welcome to Locked On Juan Soto.
That's certainly what it feels like lately, right? It feels like there's a nonsensical update that comes out every single day.
Yeah.
Like there's an update without it being like news, but it is news, but it's not news, but it's news because it's Juan Soto's name.
Right. Well, also, Scott Boras was talking on Tuesday. So that's always a big deal because he's his agent and people were trying to get him to say things. He didn't say much, but he said enough to let us know that things are progressing, maybe not at the speed that we would like them to be progressing, but the process of eliminating teams is underway. We don't know who he's eliminated, but that process has begun. So I think the report of him making his decision within 10 days, we're down to like 8 at this point now from that point. So we're getting closer and closer to that deadline.
Probably accurate. The Red Sox signing Aroldis Chapman made me more confident that they're not involved. Because why would they go out and make a move if they're waiting? If it's within a week and a half of Juan Soto signing with somebody, why would they forcibly go out and make an Aroldis Chapman move unless they just heard he's not going to sign with them?
Also, who's clamoring for Aroldis Chapman? Like, are there people bidding for him?
Well, that's the point, right? No one's out there going crazy for Aroldis Chapman. If he didn't sign him now, he was likely going to be available in a week and a half. Right. So to me, if you didn't hear, the only reason to go after Chapman at this point is because you just heard from Juan Soto, yeah, we're not interested anymore. And that's why you're like, all right, let's get on with our offseason and go sign guys that we were planning on signing. That's what it makes sense to me. Also, I came up with a theory earlier today that potentially Juan Soto and Boras had discussed this elimination of teams thing. And I had said on yesterday's show that I believe the Red Sox were the team with the least amount of hope to sign Juan Soto. And I do believe that report, when because they were obviously discussing this probably a day or two ago of which teams they were going to eliminate. And I think when they determined they were going to eliminate the Boston Red Sox from their list, that's probably when Soto's camp released the news that, he's close to signing with the Red Sox. The Red Sox are a big push. He could sign with the Red Sox because they wanted the Yankees to up their offer. And that there's been reports sort of leaking the last few days that the Yankees have upped their offer. Now, I don't know how much I believe those because those come out every day. The Yankees offer is too low. It's too high. It's what, who knows? But I do think there's potential that once they decided they're not going to sign with the Red Sox, they leaked that the Red Sox and Juan Soto are coming close to a deal, so the Yankees would have to up their offer because it was their last opportunity to actually use the Red Sox as a little bit of leverage. Because if you're going to tell them you're not interested in a day or two, then there's no leverage for you once you tell them you're not interested. Because believe it or not, once you tell these teams that you're not interested, it does get out to the rest of the league. Sure. Like the Yankees are going to find out. The Blue Jays, we may not find out publicly, but the teams are going to find out. Somehow, some way, Brian Cashman's going to find out. So I think there's a chance they were using the Red Sox to drive the Yankee offer up, potentially. That's how I believe. And again, I don't think the Red Sox would go ahead and sign anybody, especially Aroldis Chapman, who's going to be available in 2 weeks easily. Probably be available in 2 months. Why would they rush to go sign Aroldis Chapman now, unless Juan Soto told them, yeah, not interested, go ahead and get on with the rest of your offseason?
Yeah. So Scott Boras was at Dodger Stadium on Tuesday. He said the process of eliminating potential landing spots had begun, did not specify which ones. The quote was, when you're going through these things, he's just got a lot of information to meld through, which makes sense because you have to look at, I mean, this is someone had said this on Blue Sky. This is a really big decision. People are, I know we're like, make a decision already, but this is the next at least 12 years of his life that he's making a decision about. And I know the contract will probably have opt-outs at some point, but this is a big chunk of his life. It's a big chunk of money that he's going to get. And he needs to really look through everything. And the second part of the quote was, we've had meetings with a number of franchises. He's begun the process of eliminating teams and doing things. Juan is a very methodical thinker, so we'll see, but I don't think anything is imminent in the near future.
I do think it's important to, maybe we're reading into it a little too much, but I don't necessarily think so. Him saying that Soto's begun the process of eliminating potential landing spots. So that's not them being around the bush saying, oh, well, the Padres aren't interested and the Reds aren't interested and the Rockies aren't. He's not including teams that weren't interested to begin with.
He's including he's talking about the teams that have.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important to note that he's not saying this to beat around the bush and saying that teams that, had no interest to begin with are eliminated, because those teams we could have eliminated months ago.
Right.
So that I think is important to note too, that he has begun eliminating teams that actually have a legitimate interest. I think from what I can understand, the teams that actually have the interest are Blue Jays, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Dodgers, and Phillies. Those are the ones that seem to be the most involved. With all those teams in mention, which one do you think is the one that's heard already that they're not interested?
Probably the Red Sox out of all those.
That's the one I think too. I think they're the team that probably is the one that's heard. Now, again, that you won't find this out more than likely until after it's over, unless he dies it down, because the Red Sox are not allowed to say publicly that they are not interested in Juan Soto.
Sure.
So Juan Soto has to release that information, and I don't think he would. It would behoove him not to. But so you might not find this information out until after he signs somewhere. The only benefit is, compared to the last time Boras had major clients that were free agents, this is going to happen a lot quicker than previous, especially during the Harper Machado year. A lot quicker, because those guys signed during spring training.
And even last year, he had issues with how many of his guys didn't get signed right away. How many of them had
get signed until way later?
Yeah. Jordan Montgomery, I think, was a Boras guy too, and he didn't get signed until the season started. Yeah, right. He left. The other part of this, we'll talk about this quickly. Trevor May was on the Foul Territory podcast, and he had something to say about Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge came out when he was, I think it was after he was named MVP. They were talking to him, right? And they asked him about the Juan Soto stuff, and he basically was like, I haven't spoken to him since the season ended. I want to give him space and let him make that decision. I don't think I need to jump in there. I talked to him during the season, and he knows how we feel about him, blah, blah, blah. But Trevor May was not having that. And not that it matters it doesn't matter, but I think that's interesting, because my first thought when Judge said that was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that he's not talking to Juan Soto right now, because I feel like he should be like, dude, what are you doing? Sign with us. Like, advocating for, we can do this for how many years together. It's going to be great, you and me, blah, blah, blah. So Trevor May said about Judge, you are the LeBron James of the game right now, so just be him. And if that helps you and you get him, that's all that matters at the end of the day. It is interesting and kind of odd that he was very adamant about his not talking to him, which seemed a little out of place with the situation.
I kind of agree, especially being named the captain. I feel like you are the guy that has the ability to go out and talk to him. Now, I get maybe wanting your space, but I will say it didn't seem like throughout the year that the two of them were abundantly close. It didn't seem like they were crazy close as like buddies or anything like that. So I don't know how like tight they were per se, but still it does seem good as the captain of the team to not reach out. I know Soto might want his space, but it feels like they haven't reached out. I also partially don't believe this. It just doesn't feel. I have a hard time believing Judge, and they haven't talked since the season ended. That would feel very, very strange.
Well, or maybe they have, but they haven't talked about this particular subject. Like he hasn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, what is there for Judge to say, though? I mean, to Judge's point, then, if they have had conversations, what is he supposed to say? Hey, man, we'd love to have you back. Soto knows that. The Yankees are offering him $500 million in a contract. He knows that. He knows they want him back, and he knows Judge wants him back. So I don't think it's necessarily Judge's job to go there and be like, hey, we really want you to come back on the. He knows that. He's aware. It just matters of, if they haven't talked, I find that strange. But I don't know how much I believe that. I really don't.
Yeah, but why would he say it?
No, I agree. It's weird that he came out and said it. Yeah. But it's probably easier to come out and say, yeah, we haven't talked much, you know what it is, than to be like, oh yeah, we talk every day and I'm trying to convince him. It's just easier to say.
I send him good morning text messages every day saying, please sign with us.
It's probably just easier to say, no, I haven't spoke to him, I'm going to give him a space.
Wouldn't that be funny though?
It would. I'm
every
sure
day at the same time. Like that would be, I would do something like that. I would text someone every day at the same exact time. I would schedule it and make it like that.
I'm sure there's plenty of guys who do this on teams who are constantly texting and barraging guys and saying, hey, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. And it doesn't happen. Yeah. So I don't picture Judge as one of those guys.
No, he's very passive. He's very passive, which is good because you don't want him to go crazy. You don't want to be one of those crazy guys who, bothers people. But then on the other end, you don't want him to be too passive.
No, I agree. There's a fine line. There's a fine medium. But it's not his job as the captain of the team to go out and sign players.
No, but it's his job to, I don't know, not recommend Alex Verdugo again.
I don't think the Judge is going to do that.
No, I don't think so either.
It might do the exact opposite, in fact.
Yeah. So there's your Juan Soto update. He's eliminating teams. We have no idea who he's eliminating, but at least the process is starting, according to Scott Boras. He wouldn't have said it if it hadn't started. So I'm believing him, and I'm thinking that this process will be ending relatively soon. Probably before, I would assume before Christmas. Assume before Christmas. Let's hope so. Let's hope it's a good Christmas present for us and all of you. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades. You can tell us if you tried our Brussels recipe and how great it was. Betty, nice job. She tried it and she said, I'm making this for Christmas. It turned out really well. So
wow, impressive.
Who knew that I'd be giving out cooking recipes on Locked On Yankees?
Locked On Yankees cooking book comes out for next Christmas.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a cookbook next year. We send out lineups during the season just to see people's reactions, roster moves, trades, and breaking news so you don't have to keep checking social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, What If Wednesday? We're going to talk about Sonny Gray.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all available in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Guys, you can get ready for national championship odds. The college football playoff rankings were released. You can kind of sort of see where your teams are going to land, where you think they're going to land after conference championship weekend, and then you can start betting futures on the national champion. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Those members get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. That link is in our description. All right, Stacey, I'd like to brand this as my segment because I love Sonny Gray. And I've always loved Sonny Gray. I have a Sonny Gray Cincinnati Reds jersey. I am a big Sonny Gray fan. Always have been. Was very excited when the Yankees traded for him. Thought he was going to have a really solid career. Was really solid in 2017, which he, for whatever reason, does not get the credit for. Had a really good playoff start in that year, which, again, for whatever reason, doesn't get the credit for. And let's defend him for a little bit, shall we? Because I was not on the show when Sonny Gray was a Yankee. I want to introduce that in this edition of What If Wednesday, because we are brought up with a list of the top 10 worst Yankees since 2017, is it?
I believe so.
Yep, there you go. 2017, the top 10 worst Yankees. There is your list. Gallo, Sonny Gray, Aaron Hicks, Clint Frazier, Gary Sanchez, Jacoby Ellsbury, Tyler Wade, Jay Happ, James Paxton, Davy Garcia. Now, Davy Garcia is not really fair to add to that list, I don't think. He's still on the Yankees, technically, so that's not really fair. He's somewhere buried in the minor league system. Hasn't been great, but I don't know if it's necessarily his fault because Davy Garcia was thrown into a playoff game when he really shouldn't have been, behind another top 10 worst Yankee in Jay Happ. Stacey, I bring up this list to you. The one guy that I notice is Sonny Gray. That's the one guy I want to defend on the list. I want to go over just a few more of the names on the list just to so the rest of everybody else that's I guess involved in watching this can see the rest of our list. Because I think it's funny and I think it's fascinating about people ranking the worst Yankees because they don't have a lot of guys that are really like qualified for the worst Yankee list. But Sonny Gray is not fair to be number 2. Joey Gallo being number 1, love it. Absolutely deserves it. Joey Gallo was awful once they got him. Never was good with the Yankees. Aaron Hicks isn't really fair. It's not. I mean, Aaron Hicks had a couple of really solid years and was good enough to start the wild card game that one year over Jacoby Ellsbury. I know they were in love with Aaron Hicks as an organization, but it's not fair to Aaron Hicks to rank him 3rd as the worst Yankee since 2017. Clint Frazier has a really cool sneaker collection now, but is out of baseball. So there's that. Gary Sanchez is still in baseball, but definitely, faltered as a Yankee. Jacoby Ellsbury, the contract is terrible, but Ellsbury had a really good year with the Yankees the one year that he played. That's a little bit of a weird one too. Tyler Wade, another guy the Yankees were obsessed with. This feels like more of a list of the Yankees of Yankees hated players than it does like Yankee fan hated players.
Right. Well, that's essentially what it is. By the way, Davy Garcia was with the White Sox this year.
He was. Interesting. So I don't even know that. I thought he was with the Yankees or working at Walmart somewhere.
Yeah.
Tyler Wade, but Yankees were obsessed with him. Another guy the organization loved. Jay Happ, not in the league anymore, right? There's no way he's pitching for like the Giants AAA team or something like that, right?
I believe he retired.
He retired? Okay, good.
I believe he retired.
James Paxton, who I believe was with Seattle last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think went back to the Mariners and they got hurt.
I think he's retiring too, if I'm not mistaken.
And then Davy Garcia, who I've just learned is a White Sox.
Yeah.
So former Yankee great David Garcia. Let's go to number 2 on the list, Sonny Gray. I feel like a lot of people forget the 2017 that he had with the Yankees. He was really, really solid from the trade deadline on. They thought he was going to be a future of the franchise, and then things went haywire in 2018. And if you're not aware, Larry Rothschild, the Yankees pitching coach at the time, combined with the Yankees organization as a whole, wanting to change the way Sonny Gray pitched. And if you remember, Sonny Gray came over from Oakland in a huge package, by the way, that they gave up. Probably the biggest prospect pool they've given up in this era, really. And came over in a huge package where he was more of a location fastball guy to set up sweeping pitches away, breaking balls away that were outside of the strike zone. His breaking ball was really good. It was a heavy breaking ball. It dropped really far out of the zone. His motion was very slow to the plate, which confused guys even more. And that is why his breaking ball, when it was out of the zone, was very effective. The Yankees decided they wanted him to get ahead with his breaking ball. They wanted to throw it more in the strike zone. They wanted Sonny Gray to use his fastball more as a strikeout pitch, which it wasn't very high velocity-wise. And they wanted him to use the breaking ball as a get-ahead strike pitch, throw sliders for strikes, curveballs for strikes, and get guys out with the fastball. That turned out not working. And they kept forcing him to do it, and it wasn't his style. Coincidentally, he goes to the Reds the next year, has a near Cy Young campaign, goes to the Twins the year after that, is incredible with the Minnesota Twins, and has been a really, really solid pitcher since. Stacey, I ask you this. What happened? What is the cause of this? And why can't the Yankees let guys do what got them to this point?
Well, that used to be the thing. It's not like that anymore. You know, Matt Blake works with the guys better, which is probably why they got rid of Larry Rothschild, because clearly that didn't help Sonny Gray at all. And it's funny because I was hosting the show by myself. We were still audio only. And I did an entire show about Sonny Gray because we knew he was about to be traded. It was the off season in 2019, before the 2019 season. And I went from being mad at Sonny Gray at the start of the show to being mad at the Yankees by the end of the 30 minutes. And Sully from Locked On MLB always says, that's one of your best shows. It's amazing that how you changed your own mind. Like, as you went through the show and you were talking about the stuff that happened with Sonny Gray. And by the end of it, you were like, this is the Yankees' fault. This is not Sonny Gray's fault. They screwed him up. And they did. And we saw it because, like you said, he goes to the Reds. He pitches really well. He gets traded to the Twins in 2022 and does well with them as well. And it's just annoying to see that the Yankees could have ruined him. They could have ruined him with what they did to him.
People thought that he was. People thought that he was ruined. The Yankees got nothing back for him. Sonny Gray's career ERA is 3.51. And Yankee fans talk about him like he's the worst thing they've ever seen. He's a mid-threes ERA pitcher. Listen to these ERAs that he has in his career. His rookie year, 23 years old with Oakland, that's 2013. He's a 2.67 ERA. Then a 3.08, 2.73. He has the bad year at age 26, 5.69. Then 3.55, gets traded that year to the Yankees, where he has a 3.7 ERA with the Yankees. Then 4.90 in his final year, which, by the way, is crazy to think about. His ERA was 4.90 his last year with the Yankees. He was terrible. He was awful. He was no good. He was the worst pitcher ever, right? And then he was the worst trade ever. He's the top 5 most hated Yankee of all time. All of this, right? Stacey, 4.90 was his ERA. Do you know what Carlos Rodon's ERA was in his first year with the Yankees? 6.90. It was 2 whole runs higher, and Carlos Rodon basically pitched a half of a season with the Yankees that year. So it's crazy to me that Sonny Gray gets the hate that he gets when Carlos Rodon was significantly worse than him. And Carlos Rodon wasn't remotely getting the level of hate that Sonny Gray was hating. And the best part about this whole thing, Stacey, he leaves the Yankees, immediately pitches to a 2.87 ERA with Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Goes right down almost more than 2 whole runs. Then goes to a 3.7, which is where he normally sits. Then he has a 4.1. Okay, not great. Then goes to Minnesota. Ready? 3.08 with Minnesota in the first year. The second year, 2.79. Last year with St. Louis, 3.8. Right back to the solid pitcher he's always been. It just boggles my mind.
Here's the interesting thing. So he was traded to the Yankees July 31st, 2017.
Yep.
He was traded with international bonus slot money. And the A's got Dustin Fowler, James Kaprielian, and Jorge Mateo.
But those were all very highly thought of prospects.
Right, in exchange for Sonny Gray. Then on January 21st, 2019, Gray is traded to the Cincinnati Reds with Raver San Martin, who I don't remember, for Shed Long Jr. and a 2019 competitive balance round A pick. Like, the difference in those 2 trades, a year and a half between them, is crazy.
Well, I think it's one of Cashman's worst acquisitions, and it's the Yankees' fault for ruining the pitcher.
Well, yes.
The fact that James Kaprielian, you were hearing about James Kaprielian, it felt like your entire life before, and he never pitched for the Yankees, which is crazy to think about. But you heard about James Kaprielian in what felt like a decade of him coming up. He was the only guy talked about for so long and never pitched for the Yankees, including that with what they get. The Dustin Fowler was such a highly thought of player. Jorge Mateo is still in the league, stealing bases on every team imaginable. So that they gave up a lot for Sonny Gray. And to this date, I don't think Cashman's given up more of a prospect pool than he did that year for Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray is a big reason for their playoff run in 2017. We all forget that. The massive start that he had to start the comeback against Houston is impressive. And nobody discusses that. I just think it's sad. He's got multiple years in his career with under 3 ERAs, which you don't really see a lot anymore. The best pitchers in the game right now, they're at 3.1, 3.2 ERAs. He's got multiple years under, 1, 2, 3, 4 years in his career where he's pitched to under a 3 ERA. How many guys do that nowadays? I mean, seriously, think about the amount of aces, quote unquote, in the league right now. How many of them have years where their ERA is under 3? It's very few and far between, and he's not a strikeout specialist. The Yankees tried to turn him into that. I don't know why. The Yankees tried to get him to strike guys out with their fastball because this was entering the era where we're going to strike out every guy imaginable with an up and inside fastball, not realizing that, hey, Stacey, if you don't have a blow up by your fastball, you don't have a dare you to hit it fastball, you're not going to strike every guy out. Not everyone is Garrett Cole. Not everyone throws 102 miles an hour and can strike out every batter in the league. That's not how it works. And making Sonny Gray locate with his slider and slurve, which are pitches that he's never intended to throw in the strike zone, to switch up his entire game and be like, no, you're going to throw this for strikes now. That the whole point of that pitch, by the way, is the slurve and his slider, is to look like a strike the entire time. And when the pitcher and when the batter's eyes get wide and he's like, I'm going to crush this ball, that ball dips way out of the zone and you look like a fool swinging at it. That's why Sonny Gray has so many foolish hitters swinging at his at-bats. The problem is, when you throw that pitch and you're intending to throw it for a strike, a hitter sees it with his eyes wide open again, the exact same way as when he strikes out. His eyes are wide open, and he's like, oh, I'm going to crush this ball. The problem is when you throw it for a strike and you intend to shortcut that ball and you actually throw it in the strike zone, the hitter more often than not winds up actually hitting that ball and squaring it up and hitting it 900 feet. And that's exactly what happened in Sonny Gray's career. And whereas opposed to he used to throw it and hold on to that ball half a second longer, and it would dip all the way out of the strike zone, and that's what led to a 2.67 ERA in his rookie year, a 2.73 ERA in his third year, a 3.808 ERA in his second year in the league. You have all this evidence, and I don't understand why when he started to struggle and when his numbers started to get poor, why they didn't pause and let's say, all right, let's revert back to what got you successful. Instead, they just kept beating the dead horse of no, do it our way, do it our way, do it our way. And that way was never going to work with Sonny Gray. As soon as he started pitching poorly, the media got on him, the fan base got on him, everyone started to hate him, and then it all unraveled from there. They really had a chance to ruin his career, and I'm one of my favorite players in the league. I am so incredibly happy that he actually went up figuring things out. I really am.
Yeah. Well, he just had to escape the Yankees, apparently.
Unfortunately.
Coming up next, can we say Aroldis Chapman escaped the Yankees? Because he kind of did. He didn't show up for a playoff series. So we'll talk about Aroldis Chapman signing with the Red Sox next. So this news came out on Tuesday. Aroldis Chapman, 1 year, $10.75 million with the Red Sox. Now, the big thing about this is not that he's signing with the Red Sox, but the fact that the Red Sox nearly 10 years ago was one of the teams that did not want to be anywhere near him because of his incidents with domestic violence. And the only reason the Yankees were able to get him when they did was because two teams, including the Red Sox, were like, nope, they passed on him. And the person who was part of that team in the front office said something about that today. Like, we purposely did not get this guy, and now the Red Sox, because the guy doesn't work with them anymore, and he was like, and now they're signing him as if everything is forgiven. Even, I mean, he has issues with, he didn't show up for a playoff series. He was like, I'm going to stay in Florida. Okay, great.
It is interesting. It is interesting the way that it works with players when it comes to domestic violence cases, because it's I obviously take these issues very seriously, but it almost is a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing with the domestic violence cases. Because, okay, the Yankees could have not brought him back and stood their ground and said, we don't support domestic violence and all that kind of stuff. But if the Yankees don't bring him back that year, some other team picks him up. Someone else in baseball picks him up. He pitches to a 2 ERA this year, and then who really loses? So someone else deals with the bad press for a week and a half or whatever it is if you're signing him, and then they get a great pitcher for the rest of the year. And I think that's the realization the Yankees came to when it came to the domestic violence case. They said, all right, we're going to cut him. Someone's going to pick him up, and then he's going to have a great year for them. So why not let it be us that deals with the bad publicity for a week and a half? Because realistically, that's all people remember it for. They talk about it for a week and then it goes away. So
unless you're on Twitter and fans of other teams bring it up every time he makes an appearance.
But the Yankees don't care about that.
Of course they don't, because they're not dealing with it. People who cover the team and have to talk about it all the time have to deal with it. That's why when certain things happen, when Domingo Germán pitched his perfect game, I reported it. I talked about it, but I didn't make a big deal out of it because I didn't feel comfortable making a big deal out of it. Whenever something happened with Chapman, if he had a good game, I'd be like, okay, cool. But I wasn't making a big deal out of it because
and again, I agree with you. And I thought the Domingo Germán stuff was a little bit different because, it's real, for lack of a better word, crappy to say, but it is the truth, and I'm going to call it like it is. The only reason Aroldis Chapman stuck around in the league was because Aroldis Chapman was one of the best closers in all of baseball. Is it right because of that? No. Am I making it, am I making an excuse for the domestic violence? No, of course not. But that is why he stayed in the league. It is because he's an effective player. I mean, look at the NFL. There's a ton of guys in the NFL that are accused of domestic violence, and they're also in the league. Why? Because they can play. As soon as you don't serve your team a purpose anymore, like, let's be real. I'm not accusing remotely any of these guys of this at all, but let's be serious for a second here. If Juan Soto was arrested tomorrow for a domestic violence case, he'd still get a contract.
Of course.
If Aaron Judge was arrested tomorrow for domestic violence, he'd still be on the Yankees next year. Garrett Cole, may I go on? I mean, any other player in baseball that serves their team a purpose and is good would be back on the team. They'd publicly scold them, but the Yankees would not cut Aaron Judge because guess what? If the Yankees cut Aaron Judge, some other team would sign him immediately, and they would deal with the bad press to have a guy hit 40 home runs. That's what they would do. So I never blamed the Yankees for the Aroldis Chapman thing because what were they supposed to do? It's either deal with the bad press now and let him go pitch to a 2.5 ERA with somebody else, likely Boston or Baltimore or whoever it is, or keep him on your team, deal with the bad press that somebody else is going to deal with anyway, and then it goes away. And that's
they did get rid of him because they knew they could trade him to the Cubs and then they'd be able to sign him after that. You know what I mean? Like they're like, all right, we'll send you off.
That was a clerical move.
No, I know, but they knew that they'd be able to do that because who's going to want to sign him? People didn't want to sign him. Like the Cubs were like, all right, trade him to us and he'll help us out. But they weren't going to
resign him. They had no problem. By the way, the Cubs fully intended on blowing his arm out. They had no problem with that. They almost did.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. It just, that's one of those cases. Now, the Germán stuff was weirder to me because the Germán stuff. The first thing that happened, they witnessed it. That, and let's be real, was Domingo Germán ever prime Aroldis Chapman?
Well, no.
No. That's the point. So I get it when it's a guy that's elite and going to help you win. Was Domingo Germán helping them win? That, to me, it made no sense to sit by the Domingo Germán stuff and hold on to him like you needed him on your rosters. Who was clamoring for Domingo Germán if they cut him the next day?
Yeah, but I think we should get to the point where if these guys do stuff like that, they shouldn't be rewarded by getting paid to play a sport. They should be like every other criminal who has a domestic violence charge in their past and be ostracized and not rewarded.
But we know how sports works, and the only thing I think it's wrong on all sides, right? I completely agree with you. Get rid of these guys, get them out of the league, make it so they don't get to play.
I don't care how fast Aroldis. By the way, Aroldis Chapman is going into his age 37 season, and he's still throwing. Yeah, how is he throwing harder than ever? He hit 103, 104 last season.
Yeah, it is incredible. But yeah, I if in my ideal world, these guys don't play the sport ever again. They don't. But to that point, it's also the reason why I don't fault the Yankees when they keep one of these guys on their team because the rest of the league would do it.
Right.
Like, so I'm not going to sit here. The Yankees are in the business of making their team as good as possible.
I just hate it because it's my team and I don't want to root for guys like that.
Of course. And I completely agree with you. I understand it from that sense, but I'm not going to be mad at the Yankees for doing it because if the Yankees don't do it, the Red Sox will do it or the Blue Jays will do it and then it'll hurt them. So why not be the team that deals with the bad press? I do want to say this quickly before we go. Sonny Gray, the worst pitcher of all time in baseball history. Has 111 career wins, a 3.51 ERA, and has 1,724 career strikeouts. He will enter the 2,000 strikeout club. He will have 150 wins before he retires.
And just think how well or how better his numbers would be if he didn't have that 2018 where the Yankees tried to completely change him into a different pitcher.
Yep.
Because it was a big deal when he came over. I was writing for Baseball Prospectus at the time. I wrote the transaction analysis. And people were excited. like, I remember being very excited that the Yankees got Sonny Gray. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be great. He's awesome. This is really going to help the rotation. And
was it the
like
2014 or 13 year? One of those years, he went toe to toe in the playoffs with Justin Verlander in the ALDS that year. Toe to toe, went 8 innings and matched him. I mean, like Sonny Gray was one of the top pitchers in baseball.
And he was young then, because that was when he first started. Like he was
24 years old.
Yeah, that's impressive.
24-year-old Sonny Gray went up against the Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
And matched him for 8 innings in a playoff game for the Oakland Athletics. Think of it that way. He did it for the Oakland A's against Justin Verlander. I mean, that's what's crazy to me. And, you can look back on the trade now and not think it's as crazy because the only player left in the majors from that trade is Jorge Mateo, who is, a base stealer. He's a pinch runner. So you can look at it that way and think great things on it. Sure, absolutely. But I will say there is something to that trade because at the time you didn't know what these players would become. And Stacey, the Yankees gave up 3 of their top 10 prospects for Sonny Gray. And right now, is there any trade prospect you could picture the Yankees doing that for now?
Right.
I mean, Brian Cashman doesn't want to give up one top 10 prospect in all of his trades now. Better mind you, 3 of the top 10. The fact that they made that deal is crazy, and it kind of shows how desperate they were at the time.
Yep. Do you think that you think it's going to be bad for the Yankees that Aroldis Chapman's going to be facing off against them, or no?
No, because I don't think the Red Sox are going to be very good. I don't think he's going to have much of a. I think they'll be better, the Red Sox, but I think if they don't get Juan Soto, and even if they do, they're going to face a lot of the same problems they had last year. The starting pitching is not going to hold up. They're not going to be leading in a lot of games late, and they're not going to have enough offense.
Right. I just think it was an interesting move. But again, I can't believe he's still throwing as hard as he is.
And these divisional games mean so much less now because they only face each other 13 times. Like it's not like it was a few years ago where you played them 20 times and you're like the wins meant more. You get swept by the Red Sox in every series next year. That's 13 losses. You could recover from that.
Yeah. It would just be annoying. Let's not put that into the
universe.
But
back in the day when you were facing them 20 times a year, they could you go 15-5 against them, they could really, really hurt your season.
Well, 2009, they started what?
Yeah, they were terrible.
What was it? 0-6? Or 0-9? Wait, what was it? It was something really bad. But the Yankees ended up winning the season series 10-9. But they had to make a big comeback to do that.
Well, and don't forget 2018, they were awful against them. That was the year the Red Sox won like 197 games. But
that was the year that
they won the
Alex
World Series.
Cora was clearly cheating.
Yeah, well, yeah. But the Red Sox won like 108 games that year and won the World Series against the Dodgers. So.
Yeah,
they were great that year. And
because one of the masterminds of the cheating scandal was managing them, and nothing was caught in 2017. And when he went over to Boston, he's like, "Oh man, I could do it here too. Cool." Well, thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every Juan Soto rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.